concept of object, method, what are the several categories, what are the several access specifier, what do you mean by package. Okay, and one more thing, that is the exception handling procedure. The main part that enrich Java. Okay, so this part you need to study over. And the first point that I am telling you repeatedly, that the first point, that is class object method, you need to have a clear idea of that. If you have any doubt, any query, then you can ask me in this theory class, as well as in the lab class, as well as any other time, through WhatsApp, mail, through via phone. Okay, you can ask me, but it's a request to all of you that to get a clear idea of class and object. Already in our previous class, I have discussed with you the basic concept of class and object, but I think it needs more discussion about it. For that purpose, first of all, let me share the screen with you. The screen is visible to all of you.
Yes.
I want to share with you the programming editor. You can do it via the text editor as well as using the command prompt. Okay, but at present Java is not installed in my lab. That's why I am showing you the virtual editor. Okay. First point that we have discussed in the previous class, that is a class is a template. And what is the meaning of this template? Template means whenever you are talking about a particular real life entity, some special characteristics of some special features that reveals to your mind. Just like
ম্যাম আপনার ভয়েস খুব লো, শোনা যাচ্ছে না।
okay, let me check. Just a minute. Clear now? Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Clear now?
क्लियर तो पहले भी था।
Hello, now it is clear to all of you?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Clear.
Okay. So what I am saying, that a class is a template. Okay, that is nothing but blueprint. Just think about the part. Suppose I am asking you about a box. So what will comes to your mind? That box means it is a real life entity that will have some height, width, and depth. So if you want to do some programming with this real life entity box, first of all, you need to design a class of box. So how you will do that? For that purpose, at beginning, that is class after that, just a minute, we need to give the space. We are creating one template that is named as a box. In Java, with the help of the property of encapsulation, we are creating class. Okay, so the basic point is, whenever you want to think upon any real life entity, for that purpose, at the very beginning, you need to define a class or you need to define a template. So whenever we are talking about box class or box real life entity, so what comes to your mind? That a box have some height, width and depth. So just declare that part. Here I am declaring.
হ্যালো
height.
ম্যাম,
Yes.
ম্যাম আমি আপনার স্ক্রিন দেখতে পাচ্ছি না।
What for the others?
Ma'am, your
No,
screen sharing
ma'am.
is not showing.
The skin is not visible.
No, ma'am.
No.
What happened to this semester? Just a minute, I am resharing it.
Now it's visible.
Okay, fine. So we are at this point that we want to think about a real life entity that have some property. Okay. So we are talking about a box entity, and that box we all know that there is a specific height, width and depth of that. Okay. So this is the concept of class. Whenever you are thinking about, you all know that object oriented programming means this is a collection of objects. You need to think upon some object, some real life entity. So for this real life entity, at first you need to design some template. That is the concept of class. Okay, so within this class I have just defined 3 variables. That is the special characteristics of this box entity. Okay, so this is the concept of class. Now what you will do, you need to have a physical existence of this box. For that purpose you need to create object of this class. Okay, for this purpose you need to create object of this class. Whenever you are creating object, definitely we will allocating memory for that part, so our real life program execution will be happen. So all the object definitely you will just creating for the beginning purpose, that in this main method. Okay, so what we will do, we will create object of this class box to make this box in a real life entity. So what we will do, we need to create object of this box class. This line is not required for this programming, for that's why I am just making it command line. Okay, so what you will do, next part you need to create the object of box class. So what is the syntax of creating the box class? First of all, you need to write down the name of the class. Here it is box. After that, you can create the name of the object. You can define the name of the object. Here I am writing here, that is my box. Okay. The assignment operator. Next, you need to write down the new keyword. After that, there is a space, and again you need to write down the class name with first bracket, enclosing first bracket. This is the syntax for creating object. Now this each and every word here has a specific meaning, but first try to understand that what is the syntax of creating any object, how we can access this object. After that I will make you comfortable with this part, that why this equal symbol is used, why this new keyword is used, why this extra first bracket is embedded with the class name. Okay, but for this point just think about that this is the syntax for creating any object. First of all you need to write down the class name, then you need to write down the object name. Object name is user defined, and then equal symbol, after that new keyword, then again class name but with some first bracket that is embedded with it. Okay, this is the syntax for creating object. Whenever you are writing this line, at the next stage you need to assign the value to this height, width and depth variable. Now think upon the part, you have a box in your hand. That means that box have some certain measurement of its height, of its width and of its depth. Okay, that's why whenever you will assign this value to this height, width and depth, so at that point that box will have a real life existence. That's why the line is repeating, that is object is an instance of a class. Okay, so first of all do it. I have to assign. How we will assign the value to this variable? You need to write down my box dot, need to use this dot operator for assigning value to this variable. Here we are, I am just defining several value to this variable. And then okay, so this is this first part, this is the template for box. This is the real life existence of this box class after assigning the value of this variable. So next part you need to do some activity of this variable, or you need to make some calculation of this variable. Here we are just defining, we are calculating the volume of this box. For that purpose I have just make it any real life activity. That's why I am declaring this part. Actually we are declaring one variable, that is the volume, equal to, have to do, what is the formula for calculating the volume of a box? It is nothing but the multiplication of height, width and depth. So for this purpose you need to just multiply these three variables. My box dot my box okay. After that you can just show it. Okay, so this is the part. Okay, so just run this program. It will show you some value, that is the multiplication value of this three variable. Okay, so this is the concept of creating class and creating object. This is the concept of creating any class and creating any object. There are lots of other points that I will discuss with you today. But first of all, tell me that have you a clear idea? Do you have a clear idea of what is a class and how we can create the object of this class? Any doubts or any other query from this point, that how we can define a box? Actually, why you will define a box class here? Any doubts till now? Any doubts from creating the class as well as the creating the object, as well as the assigning the value to this object, as well as accessing the variable?
मैम
Yes,
मैम न्यू कीवर्ड क्यों यूज हुआ?
actually this new keyword is used to allocate the memory. Just think about the part. Whenever you are defining this box class, this height, width and depth, this variable has no real life existence. In object oriented programming, whenever you will create object, only at that time memory will be assigned. And for memory allocating purpose, you have to use this new keyword. Okay, this new keyword is used for allocating the memory for the object of box class. Clear? And that memory is allocating to this reference. Actually, this line you can my next point of discussing about this point also, that what happened when we write down this particular line. This particular line can be write down in two parts. First of all, write down that is box, my box. Okay, this is one line, and the next line you can write down my box equal to a new box. Now look at this point. Whenever you are creating this line, you are just writing this line. This line, what is the meaning of it? This my box at this line is known as a reference to the box class. No memory is allocating for the object of this box class at this point. This is known as the reference to the box class. Okay. At this point, this this variable contain the value that is null. Okay, which indicates that it doesn't yet point to any actual object basically. Now, if you want to attempt this mybox variable, mybox reference variable at this point, then it will show you a compile time error because there is no memory allocation at this point. So to make this object in a real life entity, you need to write down this line. Okay, that is my box equal to new box. Whenever you will write this line, memory will be allocated for this box, my box object. For this object, the name here is a my box. Okay, or we can say in simple word, that is the object for the box class. Clear? For this point, this new keyword is basically used for memory allocating purpose. So these two lines you can write down in a combined form, or you can write down in a separate line. But whenever you will write down in a separate line, at this point, this my box will contain null. To make it in real life entity, you have to use this new keyword. Okay, clear? Now it is clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now here is several other points that this is one box object. Now in our previous class, just remind that point that I have shared with you. With a single blueprint of a house, you can create more than one house. If there is a blueprint of a particular house in your hand, then using the same blueprint you can create many more houses. Okay, so the same thing can be happened in this case also. Here we are creating only one object and assigning the value to it. In the next part, you can also define, I am just copying it for the times being. You can assign several values to it. That means if you want to create another object, then you can just define several other values. Is 30, 40, it is okay, as well as you can use this same concept Okay, and execute the program. So what you will just see, okay, just a minute, I have to declare it in another name.
ম্যাম
Yeah,
বলছিলাম যে যতবার ভ্যারিয়েবলে ইনপুট নেবো ততবার মাই বক্সটা ইউজ করে করেই যেতে হবে?
very good question. There are several other points. Actually, for that purpose, you need to use this concept, that is box. After that, there is a parenthesis. This is known as a constructor. If you look at this point, that whenever you are creating any particular object, you need to assign the value separately. This is basic point. There is no change of it. You need to assign several values to it. But there are several programming style that using which you can just omit this line. That is writing my box height, my box width, my box depth. Okay, for those purpose you need to have a idea of constructor. That is a special type of method. We will discuss about it in later. Okay, but at this point I just want to show you that what is the utility of creating object and what actually happens when you create more than one object of a single class. Your question and your thinking point is very good, but you don't worry about it, that you need to write down. If you want, I just want to ask you to create 100 object of this box class. So it maybe comes to your mind that you need to write down this mybox.height, mybox.width and mybox.depth as 100 times. No, you don't need to do it. For that purpose you can use this constructor concept, so that you, whenever you are creating a particular object of a particular class, you just can assign the value of this variable using this first bracket. So that just like that part, that within this first bracket, if you assigning this 10, 12 and 30, this 10, 12 and 30 will be assigned to corresponding height, width and depth of this object. Okay, this may be the case.
ওকে ম্যাম।
Okay, I will show it in later. Okay, but this is the concept, that at this point what actually happened, we are creating two objects. Actually we are creating two real life box entity that have separate height, width and depth. Clear? This concept is clear to all of you, that how we can create object of a class and how we can define a class. Whenever you will be asked to do some program, then first of all you just think about the part. Just look at this point. You need to think about that part, that what actually in the real life world is happening, who are being affected. The first 2 points I have discussed with you, that differs from the procedural programming language and object oriented programming language. In procedural programming language we are thinking about that what is happening. In the second part, that is the object oriented programming language, we are thinking about the part that who is being affected. So in object oriented programming, each and everything will be an object. So for the very beginning you need to have an idea that how you can define a class and how you can create object of those classes. Okay, the next part that is also important, so that this particular calculation, okay, this particular calculation, this is nothing but a set of activity or a single activity here, that we are multiplying three variables. This part you can write down in a separate way. That means within a class is just not of a collection of field. Just think about the previous class. I have discussed with you that in a class there are two members. First one is known as a field and second one is known as a method. So whenever we are creating any class, at this point you just think about the part that you also have some method. What is the purpose of this method? The purpose of this method is to make processing of the variables that you have declared in your class. So if you just want to make this part in this transfer this part into this box class, then what you have to do, you need to define one method. Here we are declaring one method that is named as a vol, and after that I am showing you the simplest form. There are many other forms that you can use, and there are many other syntax that you need to study about the method in Java. Okay, first of all, for this purpose, whatever we are discussing in this class or this program, basically that we have just discussed with you, that you can just sentence system dot out dot println and make a concatenation operator, use of concatenation operator, that is, then write down the volume is. After that we are making the calculation, that is multiplication of I width and depth. Okay, so here what we are doing, just we are creating one particular method. Within this method we are showing the value of the volume of this box class, that is multiplication of these three variables. Okay, now if you want to access this method, what you have to do, just come to this point. So this particular part is not needed right now. We are already creating the method for calculating the volume of the box. So what you have to do, first of all, you have to assign the value separately in the three variables that we have defined in your box class. After that, using the same concept, that is the object name, then volume, name of the method, basically you need to write down. Okay, here we have used, oh sorry, not volume, this is vol. Okay, and the same part will be repeated here, that is my box dot. Now run this program. Look at this. This will be your result. Okay. In this way, you can create a method as well as you can access the method using the object. Now, in this point, in this program, there is also a vital point, and I want a question from your side, but nobody till now asked me that question. Is there two separate objects will be created in this program?
No मैम.
Why?
मैम ऑब्जेक्ट तो एक ही डिफाइन किए हम लोग, और उसी ऑब्जेक्ट का वैल्यू चेंज करके हम लोग फिर कर रहे हैं.
Yes. So whenever I am just talking with you that we are creating two instances of this class and we are assigning separate values of this, nobody just used to stop me. Okay, this is not the two objects. That's why I am repeating this portion again, that whenever you are allocating one memory location, one particular memory allocation for this object, that means here we are creating only one object. So make it a separate object. You need to write down this part, that is the same syntax, just name will be different. Box, my box 1 equal to new This will be fine. After that, just change this name. So at this point, there are two separate instances of the box class will be created. Clear? Clear to all of you? From this point, have you any query till now?
मैम हम लोग जहाँ पर ये माई बॉक्स जो डिफॉल्ट हमें किए हैं
There are some noise. I'm not hearing you clearly.
आवाज आ रहा है
बोलो तुम्हारा क्वेश्चन क्या है बोलो.
बोले मैम हम लोग डायरेक्ट वैल्यू पास नहीं कर सकते मैम
Yes, you can pass the value directly to this box, to this mybox object whenever you will have the idea of constructor that I will discuss with you tomorrow. Okay, you can just assign the value to this 2 and 12 and 30. That means the value of height, width and depth to this mybox object in a single line whenever you have an idea of constructor. But at this present you don't have any idea of constructor, that's why you have to write down it repeatedly. Whenever you will get the idea of constructor, so at that point you can assign this value to the constructor. In this program you are also using constructor. This is the constructor. But what is the utility of it? Why we will use this? Okay, this point till now I have not discussed with you. That's why you need to write down it in a separate line. Okay, I will discuss with you tomorrow class, because the whole concept of method is not discussed with you till now. Okay, so at this point, is there any other query? I just want to make everyone of you aware of the fact that how you can define a class and how you can create object of this class, as well as how you can define field as well as method within a class. These 3 points is discussed till now. Have you any query regarding this? Any query? At least answer me yes or no, so that we can move on to the next part. Gautam, have you any query? Gautam, Raj, have you any query?
No.
Any other student? Okay, do practice
No,
on
ma'am.
it, and I will share you one more point, that you can define the same thing. Okay, that is this variable as well as this method within a single class. You can define this variable and this method within a single class, and in the same class you can also create the object of that class. This can also be possible. Okay, so how you will do that? Just do practice on it in your laptop. Next day we will discuss about it. But if you have any problem, if you have faced any problem to do that, then tell me in the next class. This is your home assignment, that how you can define the variable and method within the same class, as well as creating the object of those class for accessing those method and variables. Am I clear? That means this part will not be happen. This part will be omitted. This part will be omitted. This variable declaration of this height, width and depth variable as well as the volume method will be in this main class. So you have to put your idea on this point, that in which section you will declare this variable as well as this method. Okay, it is within the main method or outside of this main method. This part you need to decide. This is your home assignment, just do it and have a clear idea about it, because in the next part or whenever we will discuss more about in Java programming, then there will be a collection of classes. Okay, so you need to have a clear idea that which class variable can be used in which part or not. For that purpose, there is also another point that is known as a access specifier. Now look at it. This is a virtual editor, and in this virtual editor, it is predefined that this class main is preceded with this public access specifier. But in this class, we have not declared the public. So what is the effect of it? Okay, now the very next part, that when you will use the inheritance, that you will acquire the property of one class in another class, then what will happen? What you have to write down? Okay, there are basically 3 to 4 access specifier that you need to know about, that is public, private, protected. Okay, so that part also be discussed in the class. So at this point, you have to get this idea that how you can define the variable, how you can define the methods, and from which part of your program you can define this and you can access this. In your at your home, basically just do it. I want one single class, and within that class you need to declare method, you need to declare the class variable, as well as you need to declare the object to access those method as well as the variable value. So how you will do that? This part you need to practice. Okay, so the next part I will share with you. I have only 7 minutes. Okay, so I'll just discuss with you the basic concept of method. Okay, there are lots of points you can have this method. Anything you want to share?
मैम बोल रहे मैम ये कोड को कॉपी करके मैम चैट बॉक्स में दे दो.
Okay, I'm sharing. But keep practice on it, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and one more thing I will discuss with you today, some concept about the method. Okay, actually we have already used method in our previous program, but this is the theoretical part of method. That first point is why we will use method. Okay, actually we all know that method is a block of code, or we can say that is the collection of statement or collection of instruction. Whenever we are doing the program, we have lots of data in your hand, and that data, our main motive is to process those data. So how you will process those data? For that purpose, you need to define some method, and in procedural language it is nothing but function. So whenever you will define this method, you have several facility of it. That same set of instruction for several other purpose you can use. That's why this is the point, this reusability. If you can just make a collection of a set of instruction in a single unit, then that set of instruction can be reused. Okay, for other application also. So that is the case why we will say that whenever we are declaring method in Java, we are actually facilitating the term that is reusability. Okay, and the next very thing is, if you want to make a modification of a particular set of instruction or particular block of code, so at that point you don't need to study about all the programming code. If you can make it in a separate block, just go to that block and make the simple modification of it. Okay, so that you can add some extra code there, you can delete some portion of that, you can modify the value of some certain constant value, some variable. Okay, or you can add some constant variable there, like that. Any other part, any part that you can do it. This is the main purpose why we are using Java method in Java. Okay, the next very part that is most important is known as the method declaration. Here it is a full signature it is providing. Just think about the part. The first part that is important is the name of the method. That should be some kind of identical to the task that the method perform. Sometimes for the beginning purpose we are using many more names that is not relevant to the code, but don't do that. Use some relevant name to the set of instruction that is known as your method. Okay, this is very beginning point that you need to keep in your mind. Whenever you are declaring a method, that method should be relevant to the nature of the activity that it performs, so that it can be easier to you whenever you will just debug this program, or you just make some modification of this program. It will help you. You can do it. It is user dependent. You can use any name, but always it is better that if you use some relevant name. So at the very beginning, whenever you want to think upon the declaration of some method, first think upon the name of the method. After that, you should think about then what will be the return type of that method, so that you are processing some set of data, and after processing of those data there are some output. If you want to throw this output from this method to another method or another variable or another whatever be it, then you need to define the type of that variable that you want to return. That is the return type of this method. Okay, after that you have to use this parenthesis, first bracket. Actually you can make it empty, you can make it some parameter list in here at here. Okay, that is several part that we will discuss later. That, but at the very beginning point, just think about the part that the method can be of empty parameter, or there may be some list of other parameter. Okay, just like C programming language. Okay, and there is extra part that is known as a access specifier. This access specifier, at this time you will not understand that what is the main utility of this access specifier, this public private protected keyword. You will get the benefit of it whenever you will be familiar with the concept of inheritance as well as the concept of package. Okay, when you will use that concept, at that time you will understand that what is the utility of this specifier, access specifier. Basically all the things that we have declared within a class, that is by default public for this class. Public means all can access this method. Okay, public means that will be accessible by all. Okay, so the next remaining access specifier I will discuss with you when we will discuss the inheritance concept as well as the package concept. So this is the basic method declaration syntax, and this method declaration syntax is known as the signature of the method. This term, that is the signature of the method, is very much required whenever we will study the concept of method overloading and method overriding. At that time we will use this name, that is the method signature. This is nothing but a part of the method declaration. Basically it includes the name of the method as well as the parameter list of the method. That is known as the method signature. And one more thing that you are familiar with, that whenever we are declaring a method, definitely there will be a body of that method that will be enclosed with the first bracket and second bracket. Okay, so today we are running out of time. So this is the part I have discussed till now with you. I will discuss it more with you in tomorrow class. Okay, tomorrow we'll complete the concept of method as well as we'll study the concept of constructor. Okay, this is the very beginning thing, or you can say this is the pillar of object oriented programming, that is class, object, method, constructor. If you get familiar with that part, that how you can create those, how we can define those, how we can access those, then you will be able to do any kind of programming. Okay, any query till now? Any query till now? Okay, fine. Then I am just leaving this class today. Tomorrow we will meet. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.